Okay, welcome everyone. I'm gonna do a call to order and an approval to, we're gonna review the agenda and see if we will approve it. Like to approve it?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Okay, agenda approved. And the minutes from the previous meeting?
Minutes were linked to the email, but they're also
Okay.
in your folders.
All right,
If you want to take a quick second to look over them.
I'm gonna need one. Right here.
They're right behind the agenda.
Move approval.
Second,
Thank
to
you.
approve the agenda,
All
or
right,
sorry, minutes.
thank you. So we're gonna move to Polly, who's going to give us an overview of committee conduct and responsibilities.
Sure. So just as a reminder, just like every meeting that we have, we do follow Robert's rules to the best of our ability. And so we need to make sure we are respectful of those who are speaking and part of discussion. Maria will be leading the discussion through today and determining, the proper time to speak. And we will probably put a time limit on speaking to, so that we can make sure that we are thoroughly getting through and allowing everybody a chance to provide their opinion or thoughts, and it will be volunteer based. We're not going to require anybody to speak. And we know that, when you hear someone else speak, then it's like, oh, I remember something. And so when you're ready to speak, we're going to go in that order.
Okay. Do we have any public comments?
No.
No public comment. Okay. And we're gonna move to general updates. Polly?
Okay, so I'm going to hand that over to you.
So, we did have a Zoom meeting. I think it was 3 of us that were on there. I thought it was really information. Yeah, right, 3 of us?
3 students and 3 supervisors.
Yes. And we kind of just ran over the basics of what we thought that we needed to focus on. We kind of mentioned, I know we mentioned something about mental health. A lot of that was a main topic, saying that one of the things that I brought up was saying to have monthly checkups with the students every month, just to make sure that they know that there's resources out there to help them. And because at STAL, what we do is we have every monthly checkups. What I actually did notice last week is that even Mr. Larson sent us out an email. It was a Google form that we could fill out just to see how we're doing, if we need any help. And I think that's very important and good for the students, just because a lot of the kids that need help, they don't want to take the step forward to look for any help or see if there's resources out there. We did mention a lot of advocacy for mental health, so maybe putting up flyers or having monthly things around the school just so kids know to be informational. And I did mention something about reproductive health, on the fact that not a lot of kids know the dangers of abortion at home. I know there's a lot of information out there for prevention of pregnancy and things like that, but I think it is also very important for kids to know that there is dangers of after pregnancy and trying to do those abortions at home, and how it's not safe, and all of the health issues that come with that. So I think those were kind of the 3 main topics that we kind of touched on.
It was a chance for them to speak to us as adults, and kind of hear what they're seeing. And she's talking about a trend that we're seeing on TikTok, which is very concerning. So we're going to keep collecting this information from the students. Our next meeting is December 9th. We're going to have an in-person meeting this time. But the goal this year, small steps, advocacy is what Lissy said, is what we're going to focus on. We're going to pick a few topics, and then in March, our goal is to kind of have a backwards PD, where this group of students is going to speak and provide information to our leadership, and we're going to work with them to put that together and make it very meaningful. And then going into next year, that will be our foundation, and we'll have a much larger crowd, where we'll have at least 1 or 2 representatives from each high school, where guarantee that one will show up at every meeting, and we can really start moving some mountains for our students.
Just for information, let's see, is in the ladies' bathrooms at the schools, are there menstrual products?
No, there is not.
There are not.
No, not at my high school at least.
Okay, if a young lady needed something, Does the school nurse have them in his or her office?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Some counselors do as well, but nothing in the school bathrooms.
Nothing in the bathrooms?
No,
Okay.
not.
Okay.
And I think that's probably on purpose, because if they're left out for them to grab, sometimes they can be vandalized or stuck on the mirrors, and they can be used in ways they shouldn't, but some of our schools do have, outside of the nurse, there's certain teachers they can go to, and we are working with the Period Project and with NUSC to help some of our lower funded schools.
Yeah, because
to
there are-
apply that.
At least in the clinic, there are some young ladies who can't afford some of these things. And so we make sure we always have them available, at least in our bathrooms.
Right.
And I think we talked about this last time. One of the statistics that we see is when our students who don't have the funds to buy menstrual products, when they're on their menstruation, they don't come to school. And so to be able to provide that, is going to help with that absenteeism.
Sure.
As we know, if they're in schools, the learning is there. The more they miss, the further behind that they will get. And we don't want that to be a reason that they don't show up to school.
And some schools do have the kits, right? About like the Period Project kits
Yes.
available. It's just a
Yes.
matter of making sure that all of the students are aware
Right.
that they can just go
And
to
that could
whether
be
it's a
something
guidance
that
counselor or
this-
social
this-
worker.
Or this student group can work on to ensure that that's happening. Okay, and so the next piece was just an update on our CCSD growth and development, our itinerant team. We're almost at the end of semester. We got 3 weeks left, and we'll be able to start aggregating some of our first semester data and making any changes that we might see in the gaps. But things have been really, really great this year. We're getting a lot of feedback from the students, positive feedback. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our principals through emails and being grateful that we're there. We taught at our first elementary school last week, and it was great. 4th and 5th grades got some great feedback from that as well. So we're looking forward to second semester and continuing that path that we're on.
All right, thanks, Holly. All right, we are going to move to our curriculum discussion. So, as you can see, there's 3 curricula that we reviewed. We will start with Advocates for Youth, also known as the 3 Rs, the right, respect, and responsibility. We will start with that one. And everyone should have their forms, hopefully with some notes. But if there are any items that you left open, that's okay. We can continue to take notes as we discuss. And the idea is that we go one by one. So we will each have a turn to add something, and if you don't feel like adding something like Holly said, that's okay as well if you just want to listen. I'm thinking,
Maria, in your folders, one thing that, just for convenience, I know you have these in your binders, but there's an extra copy of the South Carolina Comprehensive Health
and
Act.
she added some of the photos.
Just for quick reference, I added an extra copy of the checklist if you wanted to make additional notes, whatever, that you wanted to write as we're listening. And something that I have not provided for you was I took our standards, which you do have the standards, and we'll link to that. But I broke them down for you. The first one is middle school. So what you'll see is we have 8 standards for health. And I've separated them by grade level. So all the standards related to reproductive health, growth and development for standard 1, you'll find right underneath of it. And some, it goes through 7th grade and 8th grade. And then the second sheet is I have them separated by topic. So, and then they're all combined together, but they're color-coded, 6, 7, and 8. So those are all the standards that fall under healthy relationships. And then you'll flip over, you'll see for sexual abuse prevention, puberty, reproductive systems, pregnancy, STIs, abstinence, refusal skills. So it's just 2 different ways to look at it. So when you're going through this curriculum, you can kind of say, what is it that 6th graders are supposed to be learning? And I did the same thing for high school. High school is, however, specifically separated, no it's not, it's separated by topic and also by standard.
Holly, I have a question. In the standards for middle school, is there a reason why, do the colors mean anything?
Yeah, so
Or-
green, let's look at that real quick. So let's look at the colors. The green is sixth grade. That's just to make it easy to read. And say what you'll, and then all the blue is seven.
Seven, I see.
And all the red is 8. And you'll see the number 6, you'll see the number 7. So the G stands for growth and development. If you see an M, that's mental health, and the I is injury prevention. And the reason that injury prevention standard, these are student indicators, or mental health, is because they overlap into healthy relationships. When you get to the other ones, all the other topics, it's strictly just G, except for sexual abuse prevention. One of our injury preventions is to be able to define human trafficking and risk and prevention for human trafficking. But other than that, all the other topics should be strictly G, which stands for growth and development.
Holly, are we going to vote to adopt the
The
shack, their code of conduct or like their operating?
Oh, yes. Was
And
that-
then also, are we going to vote to adopt this as well, the checklist?
We can do both of those if y'all are ready for that.
What was the
I
first
apologize for
one you
not putting
said?
that on the agenda.
The Student Health Advisory Committee, their operating, I don't know the fancy word, y'all, I'm sorry.
Technically, we would have had to go for an amendment to the agenda, but I think are y'all okay?
The operating code,
Yes.
Yes.
So the operating codes I gave y'all last time for the Student Health Advisory Council, and you'll notice that it's council, not a committee. And those bylaws that were created mirror this committee in what we do. So it's just really going to be an ad hoc or a subcommittee, but they will be going beyond the parameters of growth and development. It's going to be wellness and physical activity and mental health and things like nutrition, all of health education.
So do we want to vote on the council first, or?
Well, I guess Amber, you make the motion that you want to make a motion.
Okay. I would like to make a motion so that we can vote on the operating codes of the CCSD Health Advisory Committee. Is it committee or council?
Council.
Council.
Second. Oh, wait, yeah.
Yes, and just one notation too, there's just a spelling on page 2, Robert's Rules is, unless it's been revised since the one that we got, it just needs to,
I'll make sure that
Second
that's.
page there. There you go. Oh, yeah.
okay, so it just needs to replace the second R with an E.
So it was second, is everyone in agreement?
Yeah.
And then can we get a motion for the shack? Is that what it is?
Motion to approve?
Is there 1 second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay. Everyone's agreement? Okay.
I would also like to make a motion to vote on or adopting the CCSD Health Advisory Committee Curriculum Evaluation and Review Checklist. A second.
Everyone in agreement?
Yes.
Yes. I'm so sorry, who did the second? I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah, I would do by hand, just so.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Amber can get a good.
Okay, everyone in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Weinstein, we're doing hands.
Oh,
Sorry.
Can I ask a clarifying question about the checklist, even
Yes.
though I approve it, I vote to approve it? Are we requiring that we mark most or all of these boxes in order to, on the final decision, say meets?
No, so these are just for your notes.
Okay.
And with any other review, at the end of the day, regardless of what you have written down, it comes down to the vote of the committee, whether or not things pass. And if something passes or doesn't, if it does pass, then the chair, Maria, would come back and she would write up the rationale of why, based on the feedback of the committee. And you guys could help with her do that, through email and, at any other time as well. But yeah, just what you write down are checkers, whatever, that doesn't pertain to whether or not it's a yay or a nay.
So, I guess for our new participants or our new members, how we did it in the past is we are reviewing, we're going item by item on the checklist for the curriculum. And if we'll go in order, whoever wishes to speak and give feedback on each specific item in the checklist. And if you just wanna listen, that's okay. And we just wanna be really thorough reviewing each item. We'll try to allow 2 minutes per comment. And if we hopefully finish, then we can possibly make a motion to approve it, but we don't have to do that today.
No, it does not have to be, we do not have to vote for today.
Mhm.
The committee does not. And we'll determine that when we're finished. And if not, then we just move to February. And the goal would be, finish the discussion in February and have the final vote so that the Board of Trustees can start making their decisions in listening to the recommendations that this committee puts forth,
And then
if there are any.
And also for our new members, a reminder that there is a team of teachers working on customizing these classes. So this is just a tool for teachers to use some of this material. It doesn't mean they're using it all. It's not all or nothing. It's just a tool, and they're building these lessons and classes. So, they are professionals, they're health teachers, they know the standards of the state, and they're just using some of these curriculum as tools. And we are trusting that they're doing that as teachers and knowing their classrooms and the needs for the classroom as well.
Maria, are we continuing to look at this specifically for general ed or special ed or?
No, we're looking at, first we will hopefully move to those, if not today, then in February, but we will just we'll start on advocates for you, which is the 3 hours for now, since that's just a little lengthier.
Okay.
That's the heavier lift for the Board of Trustees, for their review process, and it would be a heavier lift for our curriculum team, determining which way it goes, whereas the other two that are focused for students with disabilities is not quite as a heavy lift, and that's more resources to make modifications with what's already being implemented. And that's why Maria has chosen to go with Advocates for Youth first.
Okay.
Sorry, I have a question. With this material, is it ever helpful, is it a conflict of interest if we ask itinerant teachers what their thoughts are? Like if they feel like there are gaps and they need help? Okay, so like maybe at some point in the future we could.
The committee can invite them to the next meeting,
Okay.
if that would help, and listen to their aspect of what it's like using the materials, and what else, maybe that they're seeing or their needs.
Yeah, because I think it's helpful to see statistics, but then teachers that are actually in the classrooms getting the questions, I would kind of want to know where they feel like the gaps in the curriculum are so that we can also kind of look at those. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so are we ready to start? And Holly, are you participating if you're not participating?
I'm not going to participate unless
Okay.
you have a question that is directly
Okay.
from me.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm just sitting back,
Okay.
helping facilitate.
So maybe we'll start just in order, if people want to go ahead and participate.
And also, the website is up here, so if you had a
Okay.
question about one of the lessons or anything, just let me know and I'll pull it up so everybody can see.
Okay.
So we'll start with the content requirements. The number 1 item includes male and female reproductive anatomy and physiology. And I'm gonna try to keep a timer as well, just so that, is that okay, for 2 minutes?
Yes.
For each, person? And we can, if there's more to say, you know, we really wanna be thorough, so if there's more to say, we can definitely do another round if necessary. So, Lizzie, do you have something to add regarding that?
Not at the moment.
Angela, please.
Angela, okay.
You know, of the lessons that I reviewed for both middle and high school, the diagrams that were used, the kids' health resources, all seem to have medically accurate information. So it was correct as far as physiology and anatomy.
I'll give Amber a little minute to take her notes.
I would like to add to that because I completely agree. Very medically accurate. I think it's very thorough, however, to a point that it's developmentally and age appropriate. It does a very good job of simplifying the terminology and the parts of the body in a way that is very easy for middle schoolers or high schoolers to grasp.
We'll go now. Okay. I'm in agreement with what you all mentioned. And I like that there's a lot of information for teachers just to add interactive activities also related, or just how to communicate some of this more sensitive material and what to expect from students as well. I like the link to Nemours Teen Health. I thought that was also very medically accurate, and that included interior and exterior anatomy. Okay. Mr. Chairman, is that okay?
Yeah. I agree with Amber when I was looking at the bracket with a 6-year-old to what they require. And I think at the age that they'll be able to not only understand that, but I don't think that it would be complicated for them to grasp and really develop at that stage.
And, Michelle, sorry.
You're good. I have no comment. I liked it.
No,
Kellyanne,
I agree.
Dr. Weinstein, anything to add? Okay, great. We'll move on to provides clear instruction on risks of sexual activity. Lizzie, you have something to add?
I did see this one, and I honestly think that they provide a good, clear instruction, especially for the 6th graders. It's very direct and very clear and to the point, so.
And are we making general comments for both the middle and high school criteria at this point? Okay. So I just am gonna request clarification, and you had highlighted, so we know that this is kind of adjunctive material for the teachers. So there were a few lessons, and I commented where a good portion of the lesson is appropriate, correct, and meets the guidelines. But there are some where some portion of that lesson would not meet the guidelines. And so can we recommend a lesson but accept that a certain portion? Okay. So should I highlight which some of those lessons are, or?
Yeah, you're welcome to do that, and just for clarification, that's what the curriculum does now. So if you look at what's already been authored, you'll see that Advocates for Youth may have been listed as a resource, and if you were to click on that one, it would not be compliant, but if you look at what was written and what pieces were taken out, then the actual lesson that's being implemented falls into the compliance of the Health Act.
Okay, and where is that, so that we?
So that's on our health advisory website, the full curriculum, so that might be something too, after tonight's discussion, everybody go back.
And so a prime example of that is, there's a 7th grade and 8th grade lesson 3 on pregnancy. There's a link to the Advocates for Youth lesson, and if you were to click on that lesson, clearly there are a couple different paragraphs that talk about abortion. And obviously that information is not what we put into the lesson whatsoever. However, in that same lesson is an incredible activity on understanding the early symptoms of pregnancy. And so that is a very small snippet that was taken from that particular lesson and included into that 7th and 8th grade lesson. And so that's exactly what you were
Yeah,
saying,
like
kind of
that's
like,
the
can we
lesson
accept a
for,
lesson, but
and
it's not in
yes.
its entirety, and that's exactly
Yeah.
what is being
Yeah.
done now.
Okay, yes, so that's lesson 4, and then as it pertains to risks of sexual activity, there were 1 or 2 lessons where there's a video that discusses alternative sexual preferences, and so, you know, that's something again where that would not meet the criteria, but it is in some of the video resources. The of the high school and the middle school content that did meet the criteria, I mean, I thought that it was all, you know, up to date. I checked the recommendations with the CDC as well, and so I agreed with the portion of the lessons that provide clear instruction. I think they were age appropriate for both middle and high school, and up to date as well. And the other thing I think that was there, but I would just highlight is that the instruction be provided with the emphasis on where to go for help. Because I do think that one of the things that's lacking in general in this is young adolescents and, you know, middle school, high school, clear instruction on if you are worried, this is what we recommend. Where do you go for help? And so I think that would be one thing that if there were lessons or, you know, to really clarify where they can go when they have worries.
Amber, as a former teacher who has done these lessons, that's something that you all emphasize over and over and over, is who's your person of
The
trust,
trusted,
right?
right?
Yes, and at the high school level, there's a lesson on community resources, and we provide, a handout of different community resources that are available. At the middle school level, not so much, and I do think that, you know, it's to err on the side of caution that it's their parent, you know, you need to go to your parent, you need to go to that trusted adult, that guardian, that's who you go to. And that's great. I'll kind of leave it at that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely a theme that overrides into several of the lessons, the trusted adult. Specifically, you know, in this sexual abuse prevention, and that's, you know, after that those lessons come at the end with healthy relationships. So we've already given those community resources, and it's like, okay, let's talk about these again. Where can we continue to get help when we're in a dangerous relationship, and not so much something that's for reproductive health.
Maria, can I ask a clarifying question? When we're saying does not meet criteria, is it helpful for folks if we say it like violates the criteria or does not? Because especially when it comes to medical, and I'm not medical, I want to know, when I hear does not meet criteria, it almost feels like there's something inaccurate in it versus it violates what our codes are. Does that make sense? We just
Are
say
you
does.
asking me?
Well, I'm just saying, does it help anybody else? Because in that, I was curious if there was something medically inaccurate versus.
Sure. I mean, if there's something
violates.
inaccurate, I think that would be good for all of us to know, those who are not medical minded or have a doctorate degree, but the role, however, of the committee is strictly to make sure it's in compliance with
Okay.
the health,
So then we would say it doesn't.
comprehensive health education. But yeah, if you see something that's like, that's not right, yeah, I mean, that would be helpful for us, because if it's something we end up putting into a lesson, we need to know that that information is incorrect.
Amber, do you want to add anything that provides clear instruction of risks of sexual activity?
Yeah, so Advocates for Youth definitely does step outside the parameters of CHIA. However, the information that is provided, that is within the parameters is great. And just like you had mentioned, you know, the instruction itself, especially when you see how it is written and how it is scaffolded, moving from 6th, 7th, 8th, and into high school, it adds from one to the next, but it also is at that place where, at that point in time in that child's developmental process, like, those are the things that they need to be hearing. And it's also written on their grade level for their understanding. And so, yes, there are definitely things that are outside the scope and the purview of CHIA, but at the same time, the things that would be cherry-picked and included into the growth and development curriculum is definitely appropriate.
Can't the teacher, she or he, choose, I mean, if there's something that's really needs to be emphasized, can't they sort of choose it a little bit or move it, to the front, or be more explicit to the student that this piece of information is really important?
You can definitely place emphasis on things, however, when we're talking about the growth and development curriculum, these are written like a script. And for this, you stick to the script.
Okay.
You do not veer off and go off topic.
Okay.
You need to stay in your lane, and our lane is CHIA.
However, not going outside of CHIA, but if we're at a school and their nurse or, there's teachers are, hey, they need a couple more extra lessons on hygiene, we will modify what we have and let's give them more. Or maybe they're, they've seen some teen pregnancies, a higher rate at some of the other high schools or even the middle schools. Then we're like, okay, let's make sure we have a secure emphasis on abstinence, that choice of it, and what pregnancy looks like, the cost of parenting. We know coming in because they've given us a little bit of information, but the curriculum and the lessons itself won't change. We can just spend more time with that specific lesson
As needed.
as needed.
As long as it meets the criteria.
100%.
So there's, I think it's just super important that there's so many safety sort of guardrails, right? Like we have this committee, but then there's Holly and there's our teachers too who know the law really well and know these curriculums really well and also know the art of the teaching, which is like just developmentally, is this appropriate or not? So there's several levels of reviewing. Okay, I don't have anything to add to provide clear instruction on risks of sexual activity. Mr. Germany, would you like to add something?
No, I think, I just need clarity on when Amber was saying, I think the middle school, about the trusted person, and, get their parents involved. I'm not clear if I probably misunderstand how about the high school children. And I know that there's some children probably have a problem with their parents, but do they work toward getting the parents involved with the high school children?
Yes, absolutely, and
Okay.
I'm so sorry if I misspoke on that. We are constantly encouraging them to have that open dialogue, but also the curriculum is written in a way that it encourages dialogue to take place at home as well.
Right.
Every lesson is written with what's called a parent playbook, so every lesson has about 4 to 5 questions that accompany the lesson, and when the teachers send out their welcome letter, that was part of my welcome letter, was like, hey, this is the topic that we should be discussing on this day, and here are 4 or 5 questions to keep the conversation going. And the whole purpose with that was, I know that this can be a sticky, difficult conversation, but I've broken the ice and I want you to keep it going at home. So that is definitely something that is encouraged throughout the curriculum, is that you've got your trusted adults. And we talk about that too. It's like, layers of a circle. Like here you are in the middle. Who are those people at home? Like that's your next layer of trust. And then who are those people who are your family friends and your family members? That's your next layer of trust. So it's kind of like this ripple effect. And we have them fill out a little graphic organizer that helps them to identify who are your trusted adults and who are the people that you can go to. But that first layer, that's home.
I got you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Kellyanne, anything to add?
Only a question, like y'all were saying that this is only one part of all the individual lessons. So where there might be a deficit or inaccuracies or inappropriate material, there are other resources that are gonna build this lesson.
Many of the lessons that are part of the growth and development curriculum, there are 4, 5, 6 different resources that are listed.
And then when that lesson is built, it is put together in a way that's scripted.
Yes, ma'am.
It's scripted, and each lesson has its own individual slideshow presentation that has been created by the team with, it's very colorful and positive, and age appropriate, which makes the ease, you know, when they go in. But it's pretty for the kids, and each slide shows what's happening, and even though it's a transition to a new activity, there's a slide that says, okay, we're doing this next, so, you know, at all times we know what's going on. But like Amber said, there's cherry-picked resources, and some resources are not from a curriculum. It's, you know, article we found on teenshealth.org that helps reinforce one of the skills or the topics that is part of the standards that South Carolina says we have to teach.
All right, thank you.
Anything to add?
The only thing I would comment on, if you see an STI in a 6th or 7th grader, the likelihood of sexual abuse is extraordinary. Now, and the chances are it's somebody within the family circle, not necessarily the father, but it could be a cousin, you know. So, a little different than a high schooler who may have agreed to have relationship with a gentleman or a boy, but I'm very concerned when I see a very young woman with an STI.
And we definitely talk about what are appropriate and inappropriate touches. I mean, that is,
Good.
and also, that's also part of Aaron's law as well. And so students are definitely receiving instruction on that. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you wanna look at it, you know, us going into schools, the itinerant health team going into schools, we have now had students report. And we've had to,
We know what happens.
Yes.
I mean, we can't hide in the sand. I mean, it's terrible. It should never happen, but it does, okay? That's just life.
yeah,
And you have to protect the young person, because it could be the father or the
Yes.
brother, you know.
yes.
But
We definitely
famously,
lean on
we're
appropriate.
grateful that we have this curriculum and this team, because without that, those reports that we've made in the past years would have never occurred, and things could be worse for those children.
Okay, I'm gonna make a pause. Welcome, Dr. Byrne.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late.
No, you're
back.
okay. We're currently working on this curriculum review checklist,
Okay.
and we're working on the 3 Rs, the rights, respect, and responsibility by Advocates for Youth.
Okay.
And we're going by one, it's totally by choice if we want to comment on each of the items. So we're on item 2, provide clear instruction on risks and sexual activity. If you would, we've discussed the first 2 items. Would you like to add anything related to the items?
Right now I don't have anything to add.
Okay. And so we will move to the 3rd item, includes sexually transmitted infections, STIs. Lizzie, do you wanna go ahead?
I do have one question. In the middle school section, is there information, I know there's information on how to get those STIs and sexually transmitted diseases, but is there any instruction for the students on what to do after? Kind of like steps, like on what they should take? Maybe if they don't want to go to a trusted adult or to a parent, maybe they don't know what's going on. So once they know, is there like information on them on what they should do after?
Great question.
Well, I will say, so, for 6th grade, we do not discuss STDs and STIs. And even if you're looking at Advocates for Youth, the 6th grade lesson that is for STDs and STIs is strictly on HIV, if I'm not mistaken. But moving into the later grades, it adds pretty quickly.
Right.
Alright, so once we get into 7th grade, I mean, the lessons, 7th, 8th, and the high school lessons for STDs and STIs and Advocates for Youth, it is very comprehensive. It's gonna hit on all of the different STIs, how is it transmitted from person to person, what does the treatment look like? When it comes to the way that our current lessons are written, for middle school, when it's talking about, we talk about, you know, how you have to get tested, because the number one symptom is asymptomatic. So you wouldn't know that you got it, so you gotta go get tested.
Right.
And so we do talk about like, what does that look like in terms of where you have to go to get tested? Are we providing information on where to go get tested? No, because again, we're turning it back over to, this is a conversation that we need to have with our trusted adults.
Especially at such a young age too.
Yes, and here, y'all too, like, that's part of CHIA though, is we are the local stakeholders, right? We're speaking for our population that we're representing. And when we go into these schools, and especially when we meet with community members, I mean, that's their concern, they don't want us crossing that line. So in the middle school lessons, yes, we talk about what does treatment look like, and what, you know, prevention is number one, that's what we're really emphasizing is,
That's
you
right.
know, not having sex at all. But treatment is definitely discussed, asymptomatic is heavily, you know, number one symptom, asymptomatic, no symptoms at all. But once we get into that high school level again, we're providing a list of community resources for our students to research and to see what could, you know, be potentially beneficial for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whether it's for them, or we also frame it as, you know, you might need to help a friend of yours, you know,
Right,
locate
right.
resources. So, not necessarily putting it on them.
And that those resources look like local resources?
Yes, local resources, yes ma'am.
Okay, Angela.
So the content of the material for both the middle and high school appeared medically accurate, and again, I think developmentally appropriate, with, you know, as Amber mentioned, that scaffolding. The only exception, and again, I'm not an educator by training, but there is one lesson that I did just want to point out, that the content appeared a little advanced for 7th grade instruction. However, not being an expert in how that is presented along the HIV discussion, it may be appropriate.
I was gonna say, Dee, can we pull up that
Yeah.
lesson?
Sure, the lesson is, hold on one second, let me find it. It is, sorry, I'm having, here, I think it's here. It is lesson, oh, I'm sorry, it's the supplement. Yes, preparation is prevention. And so there seemed to be a big focus on PrEP and PEP. And just, it seemed like heavy content for 7th grade. But again, I don't know what instruction explicitly goes leading up to this. Or if this is even, you know, reviewed in detail as far as the actual lesson plan. So that was really the only isolated lesson where the content seemed maybe a little bit difficult for that level.
Yeah,
I'm pulling up our 7th grade lesson.
And maybe that supplement's not even
Yeah.
utilized, so then it's not, then, yep, I just,
no, it's okay, but I'm glad that we're talking about this.
Yeah, that stat is not used in our 7th grade
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
Holly, can you go back up real quick and click on the link to Advocates for Youth for that one? Okay, so this is a 7th grade one. I just wanted to have her click on it because there are many times where the lessons that I actually use, especially when it comes to the Advocates for Youth one, they were, oh, okay, so this is why I use this. So I took this information and I created a scavenger hunt, you know, like were given
Yeah, that was a great
clues to
idea.
try to figure out, you know, what the STI was. So that's why that's linked. However, the information that's in that lesson is definitely plugged into that lesson as well. But a lot of times when Advocate for Youth lessons were being used, it really wasn't actually on grade level. A lot of times it was like, maybe like
Okay.
2 grade levels
Okay.
before.
Okay.
So but that one was a 7th grade lesson that was pulled into that.
So this is give you an example, this is the folder in which, just for 7th grade. So everything you see up here are stuff that our team has put together with pictures using Canva. And these are like just different games and matching things from pregnancy, internet safety, and this is what the kids will get. So you can see it's bright and colorful. It's not at all like what Advocates for Youth is, very bland. So we wanted to make it, you know, a little bit more creative. And in here, let's see, there's.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think my only other comment, similar to before, is that there are a few lessons where some of the information provided does not fall within our guidelines. But the remainder of the information is actually good and accurate, and I think some of the activities that they have, particularly for STI recognition and treatment, are very, they seem like they would easily engage students, so they actually make like the learning fun.
They seem like what, Angela?
They make the learning fun. Some
Oh,
of the
fun, fun, yeah,
suggested
oh,
activities
that's
are
always- yeah,
actually,
good.
Interactive.
Good.
yes, yes.
Keep going, I'm trying to find a lesson so y'all can see what they look like.
Amber, do you have any?
The presentation.
Yes, what I really like about the way that Advocates for Youth does their STI and STD lessons, is it takes the stigma out of it. And the activities are engaging, they are fun, but more than that, the way that they are written is skills-based. So we're taking that content information and we're pairing it with application, and that is how we're really gonna have that health behavior change that we hope to see in our students. And so that's why I really like even though, you know, I don't use them exactly, or if I was an educator and I would be using this as a resource, I might change some things. You still have to give credit where credit is due. And so I love the way that they pair the content piece with skills-based health activities.
I agree with what you all said. The only question I have, it's not a huge deal, but is there a preferred term? Are we going by STIs? Are we going by STDs? How is it presented to the
There's
students?
even a new acronym now too, so
Yeah.
the kids don't care.
All the literature's STI.
STI or not?
Yeah, the American
Yeah.
College of Obstetricians.
Yeah.
STD is more of we say it because a lot of us are
We're old,
seniors.
yeah.
But it's really, if you're writing in the literature, it's
STI.
STI.
Okay.
And if you're talking to kids, it's STDs.
I can do a
Yeah.
little, I have no
I'm just
problem.
telling you, they say yes, cause then they also are like,
And that's what their parents know it as.
Yeah.
as well.
I have no problem.
And so it's just,
No, none.
and so when I say it, it's just STDs, STIs, and then that way we're all on the same
That's fine.
page, and I just tell them it's interchangeable, and we're all talking about the same thing.
But it still emphasizes that it's an infection that has to be
Yes.
treated with an antibiotic.
Well, we don't wanna harp on that, because that's not
That's not
treatment for
part-
everything.
Gotcha, okay,
Yeah.
yes, okay,
And also asymptomatic.
got it, yes.
That's what we harp on.
Okay, good, good, good. Okay, that's all I had. Did you? Okay.
I was gonna say under the STIs, I really liked, and Lindsay kind of said this with the Student Advocacy Council, normalizing testing, like the language felt very supportive. So why someone might be afraid to test, right, would be that they might not want to actually face facts of what is happening, but it's like there's still support for that. So I really liked, as far as like the mental health portion, it felt like just was very advocating for how to test, or not how to test, but why to test, or why someone might be afraid to test, but we can overcome those fears, so I liked it.
Dr. Barry?
I do have to say, since I joined late, I didn't get all the way through all of this, but I agree with Angela that, medically, factually seems appropriate from what I did review.
Gillian?
I agree.
Okay, so we can move to the next one. Emphasizes the importance of abstinence. Lizzie, do you want to go ahead and start? If you have something to add?
I do not have any comments for this one at the moment.
Angela?
I would say that all the lessons that I reviewed, that was the first choice recommended. And again, with my same caveat that you're gonna hear me say every single time, with other options being offered which do not fall within the GIA, so.
Amber?
This is where I feel Advocates for Youth, this is their area of weakness. And, but again, this is a place where it's easy to pull in other resources to ensure, but also just in just wording too. Just really to emphasize the importance of abstinence and being the 100% way that we're gonna prevent STIs and unwanted pregnancies, unwanted pregnancies. And so it's just a matter of being able to utilize other resources if we cannot find it enough in the current resource.
Does a sixth grader know what the word means? Or do you paraphrase it a little bit?
So we do make sure that we understand what it means, but really when it comes to sixth grade, that word abstinence actually comes in when we teach alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. So, because we're not talking about sex, we don't talk about, especially just for the sixth graders, it's just anatomy. We just talk, John, what are our private body parts, what are they called? So that actually, the whole abstinence piece gets tied back into when we teach alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, and we talk about, so what does the word abstain mean? It means we don't do it, we don't use it, and so we can practice abstinence when it comes to alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs.
I don't have anything to add.
Do when you talk to them about abstinence, do you tell them why? In other terms, a lot of times when young people get involved in these things, I don't think that, this is my opinion, when it comes down to psychologically, the development, we prone to want to test the water, and it causes a rippling effect once we go past that line. So the best thing is for abstinence, for their health.
Yeah, so, and I love the ripple effect analogy, and that we do a activity like that with our students too, where we ask them to, and not so much maybe putting themselves into that place, but, how might having a baby as a teen impact you?
Right.
And it could, and we talk about medically, right? So the medical consequences, the medical risks that are associated with a teen being pregnant, anemia, lower birth weight, premature birth, higher risk of C-section, cesarean, and then we talk about the health of the baby in that very first year, higher risk of being sick for the year, higher infant mortality rates among, teenage parents. And then we talk about finances, like how might having a baby as a teenager derail you in terms of school, which is then gonna impact you financially down the road. How could that impact your social life? How, your friends are going off to college doing XYZ, and,
Absolutely.
you're home taking care of babies. So we have an activity where we do that, yes, sir.
That's good.
Yeah, and then we also talk about how that emotional connection too of engaging in sexual activity and then breaking up.
Right.
So maybe not even the baby coming into the picture, but we even talk about that emotional bond, that
Right.
psychological bond.
Right, and I think that's important. And we know, living in this world, you can teach this, but the reality some people gonna cross the line, and you still have to have things in place that after the fact, you still love them, and then you try to lead them in a way to help them in those situations.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and I can only talk from my own personal experience. You know, when I teach these kiddos, I'm like, you know, we all make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and world's, I'm telling you these things, but world doesn't come to an end, and I promise you, I know you and your parents butt heads, but they love you more than anything. Like, just go to them. They want, you know, talk to them. So, that, you know, those are other conversations that we have. It's cool, I mean, it's really cool how quickly, even though, you know, some high schools, when you go in there, you're only there for 10 class periods, and I mean, that's a lesson on day 3, 4 that we're having with them, and we're having some seriously deep conversations, and the things that they tell you and they trust you with, it's pretty amazing.
Building a relationship.
Oh, yeah.
No comment.
Okay, Dr. Burns?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, Julianne? Okay, Dr. Larson? No? Okay. All right. Teaches skills to resist peer pressure and abstain. Lizzie, anything to that? No.
Nothing.
Angela?
No.
Amber?
I think teaching refusal skills is extremely difficult, and Advocates for Youth does an amazing job with their variety of different lessons, but then there are also the accompanying activities that they provide so that kiddos can put it into action. Whether it's, you know, scenario, whether they are analyzing scenarios, or we have them up in like role play situations. So I think it's really cool, the variety of activities that are provided by Advocates for Youth when it comes to practicing and utilizing refusal skills.
I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, I think that's important. Everybody encountered that in life. I told my son them that, you know, some things that we have a conversation with them because, in fact, the reality of life, they're gonna encounter some things. And I always tell myself, you may not understand what I'm saying now, but if you just put it in the back part of your brain, I say, when this experience comes, at least you have information or know how to deal with it when it does happen. Because a lot of time, our children are learning from other kids in the street on the same level. And when they don't know anything and each other don't know anything, that's where you get into trouble. So it's good to have those prevention prepared.
Michelle?
Kind of like Amber said, I feel like there are some like exposure therapy things, like putting yourself in the position or even asking questions about what you would do if you were in this situation, and it really, I think, can help them to picture it for a second to help make good decisions, but I liked it.
Yeah, overall, I think a strength, as Amber was saying, a strength of the curriculum. You know, some of the initial lessons focus on rights, respect, responsibility, boundaries, consent.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Provides information on contraception. Lizzie?
Just a question, when it comes down to the middle school curriculum, what do you, how do I say this? To the 6th graders, how do you explain to them? Do they know what contraception is, or you don't touch that topic with them?
We don't do contraceptives in middle school.
When, only in high school?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of the day,
is it's just pill, the very basic in 8th grade,
Okay.
the birth control pill and condoms, and specifically in relation to the lessons on HIV. Not the pill, obviously, but it doesn't happen until 9th grade.
Okay.
The focus
Makes
is,
sense. That's better,
the focus
yeah.
is abstinence,
Yes,
you know.
yeah,
yeah.
a very basic introduction.
Basic.
That is then expanded upon
Yeah.
at the high school.
Right.
Right.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so, and I'm glad that Holly added that, because in 8th grade, in 7th and 8th grade, when we do talk STIs, STDs,
It's the
we
prevention.
talk about the condom.
And
But the one and only thing that we really highlight on is to make sure they understand that the pill has no protection against STDs and STIs. But we're not even framing it as a way of pregnancy prevention. It is, we're putting it into the context of STIs and STDs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Angela?
Uh, the lessons that I reviewed, again, all medically accurate, and I think that they, they do a reasonably good job, obviously, of emphasizing, you don't need contraception if you remain abstinent as the primary. But I do think I like the way that they have organized contraceptive options. And again, the limitations that we've seen with our guidelines that they do offer abortion as a choice would obviously restrict some of the content that could be provided from those lessons.
Amber?
Agreed.
I do too. Mr. German? Yes? Yep. Okay. All right. Instruction on abortion as a method of birth control is not included, though the complications of abortion may be discussed. Lizzie?
No comment.
Okay. Angela?
I'm trying to remember. I think I've mostly covered that with other things, and was there one specific lesson that did highlight the complications?
There might be a whole lesson.
Very briefly.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mhm.
very brief on the complications.
But that would, again, I'm sorry for saying, but that's where we would cherry pick that out.
Yes, out of, right.
We don't even have a lesson built that provides complications of abortion. That is only discussed, and our teachers have information if it's a question that's brought up
Okay.
in class.
Okay, so it's not part of the scripted discussion,
No.
but there are responses
Yes.
if anyone inquires?
Yes.
Okay, so that it covers that guideline, it is
Yeah.
available?
Right.
Okay.
And if it's something that, needs to change and we need to include that, that's something we can, but, it's on that fine line of like, are we talking about teaching about abortion? Or are we just telling them, the risk and the dangers to the female body? But once you start that conversation, the kids start having more and more questions, and it's just that fine line, and we don't have anybody on our team that is comfortable to even provide that information.
And so do you refer, as part of your guidelines, then if you do have students who have additional questions or approach a teacher, do you have again, going back to that like trusted adult, but being very specific, and I'll tell you this just is based on a quarter century of information, very specific on these are the people that you can go to. The guidance counselor, your pediatrician, your family medicine doctor, not just, because I've seen in some of these, it's you can go see the OB or to your clinic. Well, it doesn't have to be an OB. I treat sexually transmitted infections in pregnancy regularly, but giving a lot of options to students who are brave enough to come and say, hey, I need some help. But just again, that clear, guided, again, we know what our limitations are, but that you're in trying to help to refer them to the right place and giving them lots of options that are very clear and concise that they can understand based upon their grade level.
I appreciate that information, and I definitely would maybe want, at some point, privately, we can talk or with the teams, because that would be helpful for schools to have on hand, who are those immediate people that they can seek help.
And I agree that OBGYN may not even be a thing, right? Like what does that mean?
So, real quick, I do want to go back and everybody pull out your Comprehensive Health Act. Just so we're all under the understanding. Let's see. Okay, so first page, go down to number 4C. It says, explain the methods of contraception and the risk and benefits of each method. Abortion must not be included as a method of birth control. Instruction explaining the methods of contraception must not be included in any education program for kindergarten through fifth. Contraceptive information must be given in context of future family planning. Hold on. Everybody read, because somewhere it's written in here about providing them resources.
Here, it's on the second page. I looked at it before. So it is, here on D. I believe you are looking for 7D. No contraceptive device or contraceptive medication. Is that it?
Yeah.
And then further down it says, acceptance to that instruction provided by this chapter relating to complications which may develop from all types of abortions. School districts may offer programs, instructional activities, including abortion counseling, information about abortion. And then it says, nothing in this section prevents school authorities from referring students to a physician for medical reasons after making reasonable efforts to notify the student's parents or legal guardians or the appropriate court. Is that the part that you were
Yes.
referring to?
So that's a fine line, because if we're gonna have a conversation with the student and say, here, you can go here, this pediatrician, whatever, but based on this, we need to notify the parents before we can do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big barrier. Otherwise, the student would have already gone to the parent.
I mean, but if you're
Maybe.
providing a list of resources as part of the education for everyone, then you're not specifically referring a student. Is that correct? That's
Sorry.
how I would read that.
Again, clarifying
Yeah, I
question.
think that is one of the standards in our student indicators, is to provide them with valid resources to have that. So in the high school lesson, we do have that, but, yeah.
And you would, I mean, a teacher or a counselor would contact the family to let them know that their child expressed a medical concern and that they would recommend taking them to a physician.
Yeah.
Because that's a medical concern.
Sorry, I have a question. How old do children have to be to consent to their own medical procedures? And is that the same age that they can ask their doctor to not tell their parents about?
Do you want to take this one?
Well, it's somewhat state dependent and whether you declare it an emergency.
Okay.
Obviously, if a 14 or 15-year-old comes in and is having heavy vaginal bleeding
Yeah.
and her parents aren't there, I'm gonna deal with that. But in general, you can really get into a lot of trouble without parental
Consent?
consent, approval, presence, anything you want. Although they may be the problem, if it's an STI.
That's all the way up to 18?
Yes, but it is somewhat state dependent. But you
16.
can't always declare an emergency.
It's 16 in the state of South Carolina, with the exception of, there are certain reproductive health rights that a provider may determine that if an adolescent declares that they wish that information to remain private, then by law, a provider is not able to share that information with their family. But it's a restricted list of conditions and.
Do our students know that? I mean, is that something that we would say?
We talk about how the age is 16 that you can go. But we do talk about there's a fine line between confidentiality and then, but also in one of our activities, it has, a list of questions provided that, if you were to call, these are things that you could ask, like what is your confidentiality policy? How do you bill? Things like that.
Yeah, there is a lesson, right? I
Yes.
remember one of these lessons is specifically on.
The other tricky
Confidentiality.
thing too is insurance. So
Yes.
if you're 16 and you go and get treatment, but you use your insurance under a parent, they
Right.
will then potentially get a statement saying,
Yeah.
you got this care. And also, now there's open medical records as well, which some parents still have access to.
We were on we on instruction on abortion.
No, yeah, we're on. Yes, and I,
Yes.
Okay, and I think we were, Amber, Angela, are you good? Okay.
I thought that we had kind of scooted around. For the notes, I said, you know, we had discussed thoroughly as a committee that the curriculum has information on abortion, which is outside of the scope of CHIA.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, if
That's
I'm
all right.
incorrect,
You're
I can put something different down.
No, I think we had a good discussion. Okay. Includes pregnancy prevention in context of future family planning. Lizzie?
I think it does a pretty good job, especially for pregnancy prevention throughout all the grade levels, so I think
Okay.
it's pretty good.
Angela?
Yes, I would agree, with the caveats that I have explained before, that there are some relationship demonstrations, that would have to be left out of the curriculum because they don't meet the guidelines.
Okay. Amber?
Piggybacking right on top of that.
Yep. Same?
See,
Same? Okay.
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
I just had a question. Just about the topics that we've been on, I can see in a classroom where these would certainly create a lot of questions with the students and then kind of building. How are they encouraged to ask questions? Is it raise your hand? Is it anonymous? I mean, how is that addressed in
It's
this
both.
program?
Both. Every one of our teachers has a specific way to provide questions, specifically at the end. And every child is required to write a question, but they get 3 choices. It can be, tell me something meaningful you learned today. What is a question you still have a curiosity about, and what is something fun you did over the weekend? So that way, so when they turn them in, they know that everybody's turning a question in and nobody's singled out for the only ones who, you know, had a burning question. So then the teacher takes those questions, and at the end of the day, they put them into a theme to see like, okay, I had a lot of questions about this topic, a lot about this one, and that's how we can kind of go back the next day and put a little bit more emphasis on what the kids' curiosity was. But it keeps it safe, it keeps it anonymous, and then it allows us as a team to kind of look and see some of those gaps of, oh, we didn't even have that in our lesson plan, maybe we need to make some changes.
And those teachers that are uncomfortable with some of the questions you mentioned, is it because of their limitations here?
Correct.
It's not because of their,
Well, some of it could be just, you know, lack of knowledge. We're teachers, not medical doctors, and so we want to make sure we're always providing the right information. But yeah, most of the time it's just making sure we're staying in those lines of the Comprehensive Health Act, and making sure, you know, we're being appropriate and respectful to all the students by wanting to answer the question. So, you know, they have to use their best judgment. You know, if it's a question that's really heavy, they might just ask, say, hey, why don't you stay after class, and we'll, you know, this is not something that we need to talk about as a whole group, because that's where it's like, oh, me, and then it was like, we didn't even get through the lesson because of all the questions. So it's just, they have to take it, you know, student by student and whatever the question is.
thank you.
And the genders are taught together? I mean, it's
In
boys
middle
and girls in the same class?
In middle school, they're separate. All of our middle
Separate.
school, we send 2 teachers. So we have a female that teaches the females, male that teaches the
Okay,
males.
super.
Our high schools, it just depends.
Okay,
But legally, we don't have to at all.
Okay.
Except when we teach contraceptives. But we know that it's a much more intentional program when we separate the sexes by gender, specifically in the middle school.
and the
we're
parents
hoping-
can opt out?
100%, yes.
Parents can opt out?
Yes. But we're hoping that I've asked for an expansion to get 2 more teachers, and if we can get those 2 teachers next year to go from 4 to 6, we'll be able to separate our genders at the high school level too.
Good.
All right, teaches South Carolina laws related to sexual conduct of minors and criminal sexual conduct.
No comment.
Okay, Angela?
No, I think the lessons did a good job of covering the the guidelines, and the links, you know, were correct.
Amber?
not specific to South Carolina law, however, so much of the law, when it does come to sexual conduct of minors, criminal sexual conduct, it's pretty much, it's very similar across the board. But then again, this is a great time, this is a great opportunity for our team to plug in information that's directly from the Attorney General's office, who just came out with an amazing, traffic proof program. So, again, where there might be gaps, we can fill in elsewhere.
And just so you know that this specific part of the Comprehensive Health Act falls under Aaron's Law and not necessarily within reproductive health. So most of our students are actually getting this information outside of health education or in addition to. And grades K-4 all the way through 12th grade. It's not just kids enrolled in health education.
I don't have anything to add.
This kind of relates to what you said, Holly, but in general, yeah, I was wondering how specific to South Carolina law it has to be, because I don't think any of the three we reviewed specifically mentioned
Yeah.
South Carolina.
And so when we go and through our lessons that we give, we break it down specifically just for South Carolina.
Kellyanne?
Good.
Okay. Dr. Weissman? No? Okay. Addresses marriage, parenting responsibilities, and family life education. Lisa, you want to talk? Okay. Angela?
I thought the lessons were, they do a very nice job of providing, there's a strong emphasis on healthy relationships in this curriculum, and promoting healthy relationships, and also tips on how to identify unhealthy relationships and to kind of remove yourself from those. So I think this curriculum, that's maybe one of their highlights, is the ability to really educate the students on healthy relationships and behaviors.
I couldn't agree more with that. It's, and again, kind of going back to when we were talking refusal skills and the fact that there's a variety of different ways it's presented and opportunities to practice the skill. It's the same thing when it comes to the emphasis on healthy relationships and what does that look like and in a relationship, and then also too on the backside of that, if you're in an unhealthy relationship, how do we get out, how do we get help? And I do think it's a huge strength of advocates for youth. When, specifically talking marriage, parenting responsibilities, family life education, there's a lesson there. And so yes, it addresses it, so check, I agree.
I agree. I don't have anything else to add. Anything to add?
I particularly liked the qualified parent curriculum where students have to identify what a good parent is and then resources for like young families. I think, again, with that exposure therapy, getting them to put themselves in the shoes of making those decisions and having to have that responsibility, I think is good.
I don't have anything else.
I agree.
And the next one is provides an understanding of the physical, mental, emotional, social, economic, and psychological aspects of close personal relationships, and an understanding of the physiological, psychological, and cultural foundations of human development.
Wow.
That's a mouthful. So,
That's a
Yeah.
hell of a topic.
yeah,
That's actually a whole nother unit, I feel like, in the book after you get through reproductive health is going into like growing old together and having a family. It's a whole class, it's a whole college class.
Yeah.
anything, Lizzie? Okay, Angela?
No, but I think at least the first portion of this is highlighted in the curriculum. I don't know that the second portion is really extensively covered, but definitely the first portion.
Amber?
I agree, and then also too, age appropriate. I've only got a short window of time to teach you. I'm gonna focus on the here and now in terms of, what does a healthy relationship look like? let's put the pause on growing old together for just a minute.
Economics part, yeah.
Agreed. Okay, anything to add? No?
Two things really fast. I really appreciate how they ask, one of the lesson plans asks students to identify 5 different types of relationship abuse. I think it might be really easy for you to say one, like physical abuse, right? But I like that they were, I mean, it pushes them, I think, to know and be aware of more than just one. But then there was also a lesson plan on developing boundaries, and I love that. So,
And both of those are used in our current curriculum.
Dr. Byrne?
I don't have anything else.
None right.
Okay. Provides instruction that will support the development of responsible personal values and behavior and aid in establishing a strong family life for themselves in the future and emphasize the responsibilities of marriage. Lizzie?
I have nothing to add.
Okay, Angela? Anything? Anthony? You're fine, I mean, you're not.
Yeah, no, it's there.
Nothing to add? No? No? Dr. Byrne, anything?
I like the lesson about identifying 3 ways to show love for people without that isn't sexual, and I feel like that ties in well here.
Well, we do have to be cognizant that the younger generation's marriage is not as common by the evidence-based data as it was among baby boomers or the others. So the millennials, the Gen Zs can have a great relationship, whether they're legally married or not, that's a separate issue. But, so I mean, I like it, but I just worry that you're implying that everybody has to be married to have a good relationship, which is not true, especially among the younger professional people.
All right. Films, pictures, or diagrams are designed solely for the purpose of explaining bodily functions or the human reproduction process and do not include actual or simulated portrayals of sexual activities or sexual intercourse.
Yeah. I definitely agree with this one. All the diagrams that I've seen, they're very to the point, very color coded, very good, and easy to understand for the children. So.
Angela?
Yes, I would agree. And again, just reiterating that there were a few, 1 or 2 videos that may have included some content or same-sex relationships that would fall, not fall within the Health Education Act guidelines.
There are some videos that might suggest things, and so of course those would definitely not be included.
Okay. Anything to add? Dr. Byrne?
No.
Kellyanne?
I'm sure they've seen HBO.
Yeah.
Right? If you watch HBO, you get your, maybe instructional, but you get a video.
Yes, all right. Any other comments? There was a little area for comments.
Still have
The other part, yeah. I did add a few comments there. I did like that there was a teacher's handbook. I don't know how, relevant it is for you all, since you all are building a lot of those lessons, but I like that it was a separate teacher's handbook. Michelle, were you gonna add something?
yeah, I feel like I saw something similar about pornography. Maybe not something in this.
Yes, there is information on pornography, and again, in that parental play, like that is, we do not talk porn whatsoever, it's against the law, but in the parent playbook, we do provide resources for parents on navigating the topic of pornography,
Okay.
but then also just providing them with some really important facts on what are the detrimental effects of pornography.
Yeah, because I think the statistic now is that by 3rd grade, it's the majority of kiddos that have seen something
Yeah.
either pornographic, but
3rd grade?
3rd
Yes.
grade, yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
And I thought we wouldn't be one of them, but yep, it's out there.
We've actually had the parents with feedback have asked for that information, which is
Yeah.
why we put that in the parent playbook, the resource, because it's something that you know, kids are watching it, you
Right.
know, and they're getting their hands on it, whether they meant to watch it or not, it's coming from their
Finding it.
scrolling,
Yeah.
depending on the parameters of what's on their phone, and so to have that information on hand, it gives them something, a way to open that conversation up at home.
And y'all, I mean, even just teaching them and hearing little sidebar conversations, there are things that they say and I immediately know, yep, you are watching pornography.
Okay. Instructional standards. Content is age appropriate and medically accurate. Lizzie? Okay. Angela?
Yes, no,
Okay.
no comment, no added comments.
Amber?
Absolutely.
I agree, I feel like we discussed it at length.
I agree.
Yeah?
Yep.
Dr. Bird, anything to add?
No.
Okay. Kellyanne?
Yes.
All right. Content is scaffolded for diverse learners to achieve grade level of mastery.
I definitely agree, especially with all the color coding in the diagrams and all the different ways that we have, the videos and everything, so I definitely agree that.
Yes, I think it's one of the curriculum strengths.
Great.
Is how the variety of ways that it's presented.
Yeah, it is truly designed as a scaffold curriculum.
I saw that the lessons were in Spanish too, which I liked. And I feel like we've talked about this before, but for other non-English speakers, like larger populations in the district, say Portuguese speakers, is there any way that this is getting?
So one of the things that we're doing right now as a team is we're taking the curriculum for each lesson, and we've created this kind of interactive notebook that's on a Google form. And we kind of got this from one of our teachers over at Cario that she does with her classes, but it allows the students where we can group them, but they can take the Google form and automatically pick their language, so that they can follow along in the class. It might not be perfect, and we didn't go through the proper translation, but at least they can kind of, as together,
Get the
and talk
gist.
about it. I mean, they can do that, and then when that Google form gets turned in, like, we can communicate with them as well, or, if we need to go and actually get it through translation services, we will, but we're hoping to see maybe a bigger change in our post-test, because they can actually, they know, because now they know what we're talking about, because we were able to give that service to them. For us being there just, 1 week or 2 weeks, and not knowing who we're going into, that gives us that advantage to meet the needs of those second language students.
Anything to add? Michelle? Reflects factual and unbiased information.
I just have a question. In any point in the curriculum, is there any time where you guys touch on like same-sex, like sexual activities, or like same-sex relations or anything, or that's not touched at all? It's not touched at all.
It's not touched
During
at all,
that
except for the context of sexually transmitted diseases,
Okay.
because any
Okay.
type of relationship can have that.
Can have that. Okay, that's good.
Angela?
I don't have any comment.
Amber?
No comment.
I don't have a comment either. Encourages responsible decision-making and personal values.
I think it does a good job in doing this one. Yeah.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree.
Especially with the exposure therapy opportunities. I think that there's so many different opportunities for the kiddos to, analyze scenarios, put themselves into scenarios, role play, things like that, throughout, that allows them to truly work on the decision-making skills, but then also putting in and helping to identify their own personal values.
I agree. Yeah, Michelle?
Okay.
Provides opportunities for student engagement, discussion, and practice of skills.
Yeah, I think all the multiple activities and the interaction that you guys have for the curriculum, I think it's pretty good and to the point.
Certainly the way Amber describes it, it meets that criteria.
For For sure.
Yes, I agree.
Amber?
She's trying to tell you.
Oh, yes.
You can always say
1000%.
Yeah. I agree. Talk about the examples.
I also would go one step further as far as discussion, and I like that they have the parent handbook, they have activities that parents can know, and I think our curriculum does that as well, where parents can know exactly what they're learning on that day, so parents can engage the students. But I think that helps normalize, like, not only can we be trusted adults for our kids, but these are just normal things that we can talk about, and I think it helps. I've talked to parents who are very uncomfortable talking about these things with their kids, and so it can like bring that connection, I think, for the students as well. So I like that.
And my student took the class online during the summer, so how does the handbook share it with parents? Parent handbook.
Well, they didn't get the
They
curriculum
took it
development
through the
curriculum.
summer, it wasn't our curriculum.
Right, so for the regular.
Oh, you just
all
want
go-
it?
No, I wanna know, I'm
Oh.
curious, when you all go in, how do you share the handbook for parents, with
Oh,
parents?
it's hyperlinked in the lesson.
In the lesson.
Yes.
It's, so they get the parent letter first
Uh-huh.
before we come in that lets them know, and all of the lessons for those grade levels are linked in there.
Okay.
And this is the opt-out letter if they wanna opt out, but, so all they have to do is click on the lesson, and each lesson has the parent playbook, has a whole section of the questions. But you can also find, the lessons on the CCSD website and under the, physical, health and physical education, there's a whole
Okay.
thing just for our health advisory committee. So yes, there's multiple ways, and then when our teachers go into each classroom, just before they come in, they send a welcome letter that they ask the host teacher to send to the parents, and so it's reiterates, hey, you know, we're coming this week, but it introduces themselves and little personal background, and again, they have the lessons linked again with a reminder that those questions are in there.
Got it, okay, great. All right.
Is it me?
was, sorry, it was provides
No,
opportunities
I-
for students engagement.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yes, it's engaging. Anything, Kelly?
I like the comments about role playing, and I'm hoping to hear that students kind of get into that. But I had a question about the parent playbook too. Do you ever get any feedback from that? Or do you
Not a whole lot, every once in a
have a
while,
goal of
but-
trying to?
Yes, we would like to start wrapping our heads around more community engagement, and that's actually something we talked about in the student advisory council, is having opportunities, like say it's a stall where we have a Saturday or a weeknight where it can be a parent and child come, or just the parents and we teach the lessons, or, you know, do something more, but, you know, we try to have engagement opportunities the past 2 years, and it was slim to nothing. But we want parents to come, but, you know, but I feel like, you know, the ones who are involved are seeing what we're doing, and we've had a lot of positive feedback. And last year, the statistic we had of students being opted out was 0.03%. Out of almost 9,000 students. So that was probably a record, and that spoke volumes to us, because it is live, you can see everything, and, you know, you know, they see the good work that we're doing, and it's good information, you know, there isn't anything that's misleading or going beyond the parameters of this act. It's, the whole point is to give them that information they need to make good choices.
I wonder, sorry, along that line, if there's something that we can do to brainstorm for parent engagement, just because I paid it, so when that letter came to me, because I have a 7th and an 8th grader, so when the letter came to me about the curriculum, I knew to be looking for it. So but I'm on this committee, so I know how to access all the information and all the people that make the decisions. But then also as a parent, thinking how overwhelmed I am with every piece of paper that comes and all the homework and stuff, and so wondering if, even if we surveyed some parents, not some, all parents, whatever, but somehow figured out from them when would be best to deliver that kind of information for them, or is it, you know, all the schools, and I know that's a lot of resources, but all the schools have fact and fee nights or back to school nights, and so can we be represented?
Yeah,
There-
those
I
are
know that's a
definitely
lot
some
of footwork for you
options
guys,
and
but-
going into next year too. So the way schools determine when to send the letters home is gonna be taken over by Power School. So as soon as the student is enrolled in the course, the letter automatically will go out. So the schools no longer have that responsibility. And if a kid transfers in late, the day he transfers in and is enrolled, the letter automatically gets pushed out. But we'll be able to kind of take some data, because we'll be able to see if the parents actually opened the email and read the letter.
Oh, yeah.
So after like that first 9 weeks, or, we'll see, is the letter actually being read? And we all know that reading is fundamental, so to be able to see everything and know that you can click on that. So I would love to get some feedback from this committee of ways that we can get into the community and provide parent resources. Almost like just have a night workshop just for parents, resources for parents that complement what's happening in the classroom. And get some of the medical folk in here to help us out on that too.
Okay. And the last item is materials are free from bias, cultural, religious, gender, or regional.
I agree. I think it's very thorough, yeah.
Yes.
Agree?
Agree.
You too? Yeah?
I do like that they make, every single lesson has like a note about language and how they use their language, and I appreciate that.
I agree.
Great.
Hopefully the instructors, this applies to them as well. Because somebody could have skew the information because of their particular bias. So hopefully, are the teachers screened at all who do this to make sure that?
Well, they go through a very thorough background check. And then we have our trainings each year. The team that we have in place right now, 3 of them have been on the team since we started the whole team. And we have a new hire this year, and she's amazing. She was actually District Teacher of the Year at another county, in Berkeley County. But we, before we get into the classrooms, we don't start teaching until about the second week of September. Well, I guess the second week of August now, depending on when school starts. We take those first 2 weeks and we sit down and we go through every lesson, we practice teaching, we talk
Good.
about all the different scenarios that might come up, and then we will have, they've been trained by outside entities as well.
That's fine.
On verbiage and how to, yes.
Okay,
And they're health educators. that
They're
is
all certified in health.
certified in
Yes.
health, right?
Yes.
good,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. So not just the teacher, but they're actual health educators.
Correct. Yeah.
Good.
Okay. All right, any other comments? I want to add a comment. I saw that the lessons, in the teacher comments, they always have a reminder for the teacher to review the district policy, so that is also reinforced in the lessons, so I liked how comprehensive the teacher guide was. Any other comments? Okay. All right, so.
Motion to adjourn? Oh, wait, is
No,
there?
so I have a question. So if we feel like we've gone through all of this, can we motion to approve this curriculum? Okay. I move to approve the Advocates for Youth curriculum as we've discussed, acknowledging that there are deficits, right, or not deficits, but that only the material that applies to the law will be used. Right.
I second. Can I get it?
Yep.
All in favor? Yes, all in favor.
Sorry, and then question, Holly, you need a copy of this, correct?
Yep, whatever you have, I'll collect after the meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
And if you have anything that you did computer-wise that you were typing on, you can just send it to me via email.
So Holly, will we review then Vanderbilt and the other one
In February.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
All right,
And you want our names on these?
so.
If you don't mind.
Okay. I did each lesson on one, so that's fine, okay.
All right, so if we don't have anything else to discuss, then.
Motion to adjourn then?
Okay, perfect. Seconds,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Oh, my name is on.